Hello and welcome. Thanks for coming to the last session of the last day and hearing a little bit about web services on Google App Engine. So my name is Ron Hess, and I'm a developer evangelist with Salesforce.com. And I have with me Ryan Marples, also a developer evangelist. Ryan, raise your hand. Stand up. And Iein Valdez from Appirio. Appirio is a partner of Salesforce and has a cheering section. Appirio is a partner of Google and a partner of Salesforce, and he's built a really interesting demo. So we're going to do a couple of things today. We're going to talk about some code, we're going to talk about some new technology, an open source project, and we're going to see some demos. So before we get too far into it, I'd like to ask the audience, how many people are familiar with Salesforce? How many people have heard of the platform, maybe used it, maybe they use it at a current company? Fantastic. Okay, that's a great showing. So a lot of the stuff that I'm going to talk about, Salesforce, you'll understand right away. And then, of course, you're at a Google conference, so you will understand how exciting App Engine is. This is our safe harbor statement. It's a reminder to make your purchasing decisions based on current features. You can read more about this on Salesforce/investor. Today, the agenda, as I mentioned, we're going to talk about Force.com platforms to get you up to speed on all of the exciting features there. Then we're going to talk about how we are connecting these two clouds. The Force.com platform is our cloud, and the Google App Engine and all of the apps that run on Google represent the Google Cloud, and how these two platforms actually work together. We're going to talk about how we build that bridge so that they can communicate. We'll also show a simple hello world, because I love to show some code in all of my sessions. And then Ryan's built an exciting product catalog demo, so he's going to demonstrate that. And then Iein has a demo from Appirio that shows a real-world type solution that combines both of these clouds. And of course, we'll have time for Q&A. So first, to understand the Salesforce cloud, the Force.com platform, I want to break down what we offer into these three categories. It's the real-time infrastructure, which is the bottom row. I want to make sure you can all see that, and all of the features it brings to our cloud. Then we'll talk a little about the cloud platform, and finally the cloud apps. That's the Salesforce cloud, the Service Cloud, and your application that you build on our platform. Those are all on top, and they enjoy all the services below. So on the infrastructure side, we are SAS 70 certified. We are ISO 27001 certified. So when you build apps on our platform, you're enjoying the certified platform. We have proven scalability, real-time upgrades, a trust system, all of these kind of infrastructure features that you also enjoy on Google App Engine. Then on top of that, we have the cloud platform. And our cloud platform has a bunch of modules that are built in that you don't have to code for. A great example of one of these built-in modules is our real-time workflow and approvals. So with our platform, each user can be a recipient or a participant in a workflow process. And they can be an approver or just an observer of a workflow. And so workflow is one of the things that we provide for you. You don't have to build that. You don't have to code that. Along with workflow, there's analytics, there's a content library, there's unlimited customizations. And as you build customizations on our platform, we build the UI for you. So all those things combined make it a very fast way to build apps in the cloud. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute, but the really exciting thing is how we're going to combine these clouds. So let me keep moving. So with the Force.com platform, you do get all the benefits of building apps in the cloud. You get no hassle upgrades. You build it on our infrastructure. We take care of all the gunk, and you can build your app and focus on the value add that your company brings. And this is the same with Google's cloud. So again, you're seeing a parallel here. Things that we offer and things that they offer, very similar. We're going to show you how you don't have to choose, you can actually combine. So this shows you all of the things that you might have to build otherwise, but on our platform, we provide these for you. So it's a great way to get started, build something quickly. App Exchange is our directory of applications, our real-time content library, and so on. All of these things are built for you, and you'll be able to access them on Force.com platform. So many apps have been built using these features, but those apps may or may not be able to talk to the Google apps. So how do we kind of combine both of these clouds? So in order to understand that, how we're going to combine everything, I want to talk about Google's cloud architecture. And this is a cloud that I got, a slide that I got from my host, Scott McMullen. And Scott, are you here? Scott's not here right now, but Scott gave me this cloud to understand how Google sees their architecture. And you can see what they've got is Google apps like Mail, Calendar, Documents, and Gadgets. They also have third-party apps, and those sit on top of Google's infrastructure. And inside of Google's infrastructure, they've represented Google App Engine. So that's where App Engine sits. And you can see that App Engine is already built to handle integrations with other third-party services. We'll talk about specifically how that's done for the next few slides. But I wanted to show this architecture and alongside the Salesforce architecture so you can see how really similar they are. So there's a slide. You saw that earlier. It's the infrastructure. On top of the infrastructure is the platform. On top of the platform are the apps. And there have been more than 850 ISV apps built on our platform. We have 1 million users and 60,000, over 1 million users and over 60,000 customers. So all of these people are building and using our cloud today, but they may actually need to talk to an application that's built for the Google platform. So how do we connect these, and what do you really gain by connecting these clouds? So this is important to understand. Why would you want to combine these? What are you really going to get out of it? Well, what we feel is that these two clouds are non-rival. We see many customers of ours that use our sales automation, but they need Google Apps. And so Google is able to go in and sell Google Apps to those customers. And many of Google's customers that actually use Gmail and Docs and spreadsheets and Calendar actually need a sales automation application as well. And so we can sell into those customers as well. So now we've got customers, and Appirio knows this, as they build for both platforms, the ability to leverage these two clouds working together. So if you're a developer and the application that you're building on our platform needs to talk to Google, it can. And if you're building an app on Google App Engine and you need to talk to a sales system like we have on our Force.com platform, you can do that too. So you no longer have to choose. You can use one or the other or both in a combination and build this integration and deliver enhanced value to your customers. So today, what we're specifically going to talk about is building Java applications on App Engine that read and write onto the Force.com cloud platform. So I've got another slide here that kind of shows you what we're going to be talking about today. The rest of the day, we're going to talk about these three clouds in the middle. You can see Google App Engine on the left there. You can see the web service client, the partner library, and the SOAP API. And those in combination allow you to communicate across these two clouds. So let's take a closer look at the pieces that we're going to discuss. There are three things that we're going to talk about. I'm going to go into some detail on each of these. The first one is the web service client. So the web service client is just that. It's a client that runs on App Engine, and it provides two features that we need to communicate with the Force.com database. It provides parsing and transport. Go into those in a little bit more detail later. The web service client actually uses the partner library. The partner library is, again, Java code, but it's generated, so you don't have to generate it. And in our open source project, we've generated one for you, so you can get started without generating any of that. And then on the Force.com side is the SOAP API. That's how all of the integrations that you build for Force.com communicate with our database using the SOAP API. So that's provided by Salesforce. So you don't need to build that either. So you don't need to build any of these, but I wanted to show each of them in some more detail so you can understand just how they're all going to work together. So first is the Force.com SOAP API. And this is a standards-based API. It's a SOAP and WSDL. It's exposed as a WSDL on our website. So as a developer, when you sign up for the developer edition, you'll be able to download the WSDL, and that describes all of the methods and objects that you can interact with on our database. And you get basic CRUD operations like read, create, update, delete, and so on. There's also special operations, for example, send email, convert lead, and even metadata operations that you can use to create new tables, new fields, and so on. These are all exposed as WSDL. Today we're going to be talking about the partner WSDL, which is just one of the WSDLs. There's also an enterprise WSDL. But the SOAP API is standards-based, so I don't want to go into too much detail on this. You can read more about this on developer.force.com. That's called Web Services API. So it's the first thing that we need to understand, and it's already built for us, so we're not going to spend a lot of time on that. On the other side of the bridge that we're building here is the web service client. Now, this is very exciting because this is brand new. This has just been open sourced this week. I don't know if you saw the press release yesterday. This is an open source project. It's built on a high performance streaming interface for Java. We had to make some minor change for App Engine, but I'm going to show you just exactly what we had to do there to get it up and running. And it wasn't much, I'll tell you. It was very, very exciting to see how quickly it all came together. This is available on code.google.com. The project name is sfdc-wsc, and you can link to that from our developer.force.com homepage. We'll have those URLs at the end of the talk. So, what does this web service client give us? Well, there's two things that we absolutely need. We need parsing and transport. Parsing because we want to use a WSDL that may be generated or revved over time. So we need to be able to parse this WSDL. And that actually, the exciting thing about this library and Google App Engine is that this is not specific to Force.com. This can be used with any WSDL. So if there's one thing that you take away from this talk today, it's that now with Google App Engine, you can use web services. This client will work with other WSDLs. Now, we've only tested it with the Force.com WSDL, but you could use it with any document literal WSDL, and we've provided support for several object types in there. So you can look in there and see if the object types that you need are supported or not, and you can see the source code and see how to support additional object types that might be more specific for your WSDL. But again, it's not specific to Force.com. Additionally, the web service client provides the transport methods, and this is based on, because this runs on App Engine, it's based on the native features of App Engine, the URL fetch. And I'm sure you've seen or heard about URL fetch during the talks earlier, and I'll show you just a couple of lines of code about discussing that. So let's take a look at the transport layer. Now, I wanted to show this code because this is actually the code that I had to write to implement our web service client on App Engine. So of the thousands of lines of code included in the web service client, these are the only things that I had to actually modify. Our client uses a streaming interface. The streaming interface is not available on App Engine. Instead, you use a fetch mechanism. So I had to write a fetch that actually exposes the data as a stream. So you can see I'm calling set payload to take all of the chunk of data that you're asking to be queried, say the query string that you want to read from force.com, or the query or the records that you want to write to force.com, and then you call fetch. And I'm just checking the response code and then getting the content. All of these are provided for me by the App Engine libraries, so I didn't have to write any of that. I just had to write this one port. So if you haven't ported your Java code to App Engine yet, the message here is it's really easy. You should give it a try. Most of the Java that I ran across just dropped right in and worked first time. So this is the heart of the transport. And again, this is open source. I'm not going to go into too much more detail on the source code. You can find the source code online, and we can happy to talk to you about that process later, porting that application to App Engine. But the exciting thing was it worked pretty quickly, and it worked right away. The other thing that we need is parsing. So the web service client has a parsing tool built into it. And with this tool, you generate the Java objects. So you provide a WSDL, and you run this command line, and it generates a jar that has all of the methods and all of the objects that were in the WSDL. And that code works on App Engine. So when I run this command, I generate this output jar file. What does it build me? Well, it builds me the next piece of the chain, the partner library. Now, we call this a partner library. It could also be the enterprise library. If you're familiar with our WSDLs, we have a strongly typed WSDL and a loosely typed WSDL so that you can write applications that work with multiple Salesforce orgs. Or if you're writing for your own org, you can use the enterprise WSDL as well. But basically, you generate that jar file, and it has the objects and methods. And the transport classes come in the WSC jar, which is also out on the project. And you drop those into your App Engine project. And as soon as you do that, you're done. I mean, you are ready to build your hello world because that's all you need to do. Inside your application, it exposes as a connection object. So I think the next thing we want to do, so we've looked at the web service client. We've looked at the SOAP API. Any questions about the partner library or any of these pieces? I'm happy to take questions while we're going, because sometimes that's when the questions come up, or we can save the questions for the end. So we've looked at all the pieces. Now let's just look at the basic Hello World program. This is Java program that does three things. It's going to create a connection config. It's going to log in, which is calling new connection. Then it's going to create an object, which we call an S object. It's going to populate fields on that object, and then it's going to call create. So this is interesting, but I'd rather show you this one. I'd rather go in and demo this one. So let's go ahead and switch into this now, and hope everything works just like I like. Okay, so here is the source code for my hello world. I know it's very simple, but I wanted to show you something simple first. So let's take a look at this, and it's pretty basic. But let's do this the fun way. Let's delete everything and build it from scratch. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how I build these things from scratch. I'm going to use snippets. And the first snippet I'm going to bring in is the Hello World servlet. So it's very basic. I haven't done anything here yet. I've just got a get and a post method in my servlet, and I've added these includes, these imports. So I'm ready to go. Nothing surprising yet. Now I need to, when I call get on my Hello World, well, first let me tell you what the Hello World is going to do. Hello World is going to run on App Engine, and it's going to create an account on Salesforce. We'll call the account Hello World. So that's what it's going to do. To do that, I'm going to bring in a form. The form is just going to allow me to type in a name, the name of my account. I'm going to type in Hello World. This is, again, basic, nothing special here. I've got a form. Now I need to declare the connection. Now we're going to start to use the partner library. So I've just brought in a logging method and a username and a password and a partner connection. This is the partner connection that I'm going to interact with, and that's what we're going to use to actually communicate. So there we go. We're almost ready. We need two more things. We need to log in. So I'll bring that down here into the post, in which case we're going to create a connector config, which holds our username and password, and then we're going to log in. That's called new connection. All right, so nothing special there yet. We're just going to log in. And finally, we're ready to create an account. And so what you can see here, as on the slide, I just create a new object, populate a few fields, set the type of object that I want to create. This can be a custom object or a standard object. And then I'm going to call connection create. So there we go. That's the entire Hello World application. I'll save that. And now I'm going to launch that. Okay, it's running, and it's telling me that I need a new SDK. Actually, it's warning me that the SDK has been updated. So I'll take that on note, and I will update that a little bit later. But right now, I want to go to localhost, and we'll run this. Let's see. I got one that's ready to go. Run. Okay, there's the servlet. There's the hello servlet that I want to run. There it is, hello world. Okay, so this is an input form. Now we're just about ready. I'm going to type hello world Google I/O. Okay, there we go. I'm going to create that account. Now, I didn't put a lot of user interaction. I didn't put a wait. It's just going to reload that page when I'm done. So now I need to switch into a browser and log into Salesforce. So, do I have a browser that's up and running? I don't. What am I going to do? I'm going to launch a fresh browser just to avoid confusing my colleagues here. They have everything set up. There's the Salesforce page. I've got a little login link. This is the login. This is the application that I inserted the data into. I'll go to the Accounts tab, and we should see Hello World Google I/O. And there it is. Hello World Google I/O. If we go and visit this account, we'll see a timestamp from today. There it is, 6:09 p.m. That must be in London, the time zone setting. Okay, so that is the simple Hello World. I know it's awfully simple, but I wanted to show you just how quick and easy it is to actually build something that's starting to communicate with these two clouds. Now, that was interesting, but what's really interesting are some of the things that you can do if you've got a little more time and you've got a little more Java experience. So what I asked Ryan to do was to take the next step, say build something really interesting, not just a hello world. So I got to do the easy one. So now I think I'd like to ask Ryan to come up and show us the next step in this evolution. Thanks, Ryan. Is your mic on?
I believe so. I believe it is. Okay, so Ron showed kind of a functional demo. What I wanted to show was something a little more real world. So let me set the scenario before I start showing stuff here. The idea is I'm going to represent a company called Stratus Interiors, and I'm an interior furniture vendor. Stratus is a type of cloud, but I don't think anybody got that. So anyway, we'll skip over that. The idea is, now I'm a Salesforce customer, and I've got a lot of data in Salesforce. I manage my products, I manage my sales reps, I manage my leads, and I wanted to use Google's App Engine, and specifically, I have a developer who has Java experience who'd like to build an application on Java to actually produce an online product catalog and collect some leads in from users. So that was the challenge, and that's this new toolkit that Ron's just talked about helps us do that. So let's talk about how that's going to work. I will create a new window here, and this is actually live right now. stratusinteriors.appspot.com. So this is a Google Java App Engine application. And when I come to the catalog page, it looks like a very simple product catalog. But actually what's happening is, we'll look at the code in a minute, but these products, these chairs, and these various pieces of furniture, this is actually a data-driven page that's coming directly from Salesforce. So we're actually feeding the data in live. The other piece of functionality we have, in addition to displaying the product catalog, is I can come in and say, well, maybe I'm interested in this, and I can actually put in some information here. So I will call myself Google I/O, and I'll make up an email address, and I'll say maybe I'm interested in the pricing and maybe the customer reviews of this particular product. And I'll hit request there. And that's actually going on, doing the opposite. Instead of reading data from Salesforce, we're actually pushing data into Salesforce and creating an inquiry within Salesforce. So again, we're really displaying how we can keep the data and kind of the business process within Salesforce, but the application's live. So if I were to want to go and update a product, add a new product, I would just go into Salesforce, add that product, don't have to touch the website. And similarly, as leads come into the website, I don't need to have anybody emailing things around or exporting CSVs. It's a dynamic link into Salesforce. Just to prove this, let's actually go log into Salesforce. So here we are, and this is the Stratus eStar application that I have. And you can see these are the catalog entries we just looked at a minute ago. So if I go look at one of these items, we have the, in this case it's a chair, we have the image URL, we have the description. I could actually change that and have that come up back on the site. We have inquiries. Got a bunch in here. Apparently Bart Simpson's interested in a lounger. And here you go. Here's the one we just created. So similar to Ron's example. The other thing I'll do, just because we showed two inputs, we haven't really showed an output, just to kind of prove this is live, I'll come back in here and we'll change one of these. We'll take chair 1, which should be the first product, and we'll edit this and say something that's really cool. We'll say it's awesome. And we'll go ahead and save that. And we'll come back here, and we'll come to our catalog. And there we are. It says it's awesome. So again, just that's the power of this, is holding kind of the corporate data within Salesforce, but driving an application. So close these two back here. Just a couple things I wanted to point out about how this was built. The first thing, making the connection, what I did here is I realized, in some situations, users will be supplying their Salesforce credentials and logging on every time. In this case, I just have a special account. So I actually create an account called, I can call it the API, basically. And it has the right permissions within Salesforce. What I want to do is log on as that particular user. And I realized that, a catalog is not, I did the update, now I can change something and it's live. But in realistic terms, you don't need the product catalog to be updated right to the second. So I created a little session manager, which just handled some caching. So what it does is it logs on to Salesforce, it takes the session ID and throws it in memcache for about an hour. So then as subsequent requests come in, it's reusing the same session. It doesn't have to recreate that. So I just created a little session manager class that can help you out with that. And you can find that code if you're interested in leveraging that up on the Google Code project. Also, just to show, instead of hard coding or username and password, you can use something like a servlet parameter, which is in the web XML. I've got that in there. The other thing is just the retrieving data. I don't think we'd shown this. Ron talked about the insert. So this is just to show you another example of pulling data out. That CONN variable, that's that connection object that represents that API into Salesforce. In this case, we're calling query. Now, you may look at this and say, oh, it's a SQL statement. Well, this is actually the Salesforce's query language. So if you've used Salesforce before from a developer perspective, you'll find this very familiar. But if you haven't, this is actually Salesforce's query language. It's a powerful query language. We can do joins and relationships and filters and all this kind of stuff. So I'm just doing a simple query in this case, asking for a few fields from my catalog entry object and doing a simple order. And then I'm getting my results back, and I get this get records, and I get this array of these S objects, which are effectively Salesforce objects. And here I'm just looping through. What I did is I created a catalog entry object, which is just a simple little plain old Java object with a couple properties that I could pass on to my JSP. And I'm just kind of calling from S object, which converts it, and that passes on to the data. So that's the gist of it. I hope that's useful. Go up to the code, the Google Code project, and you can see the code for this, as well as download it, and you can even check it out live, stratusinteriors.appspot.com. I think at this point, I'm going to hand it over to Iein.
Thanks, Ryan. Ron. So I'm Iein Valdez. I work in product development at Appirio, and we help accelerate the adoption of cloud computing within the enterprise. And I think it's fitting that this session is about connecting the clouds. And our business is helping companies like Harrah's Entertainment take advantage of platforms like Google Apps and also Salesforce.com. So I'm going to show you a demo we built for Harrah's, which essentially connects Salesforce with Google Apps and App Engine, and how we used the web services client that Ron and team put together to make that connection happen. So the premise here, the background, is that Harrah's uses Salesforce to manage their host process and reservation process for VIPs. So you have high-stakes VIPs, they have a designated host. The host helps manage their visits, manage their travel arrangements, and make sure they have an overall excellent experience. So let me show you what that interface looks like. And we're going to go into Salesforce.com. And I'm going to log in as, Salesforce.com. I'm going to log in as Nicole, who is a host at Harrah's. So, Nicole. And we're going to log in. And what we see here is the demo instance that we've set up for Harrah's Entertainment, and this is where Nicole, as a host, manages her day. So this is her home page where she can see dashboard, reservations coming in, event popularity, also manage tasks. You can see that this is where guests are managed, so her VIPs are managed here, as well as the reservations that her VIPs have entered into the system. The one point I want to point out when you see the interface we built is that, not unlike the earlier store catalog demo, that the events, which are the prizes in the game that I'm going to show you in a second, come right out of Salesforce. So you'll see here we have a list of various events. So let me actually take you and show you what the end result looks like. Here is the actual site we have, and this is the total rewards program that Harrah's VIPs have. I'm logged in as this instance as a VIP, and I can see that my host is Nicole Patterson. She's my personal concierge. I have lots of information, and I can have my trip planner here. And so if I want to create a trip and enter into the system, I'm able to do that, and I can see events coming up. Now, what we did, at the bottom here, you'll see that we have, play-to-win event prizes. And when I click this and expand that, this is an App Engine app that we built, which pulls prizes out of Salesforce.com and allows you to essentially play the game. And the logic for the game is powered in App Engine on Java. And as you accumulate points and accumulate enough to cash a prize out, you're able to cash the prize out. The prize is added to your travel reservation, and then inside of Salesforce, Nicole's able to see that and make sure you have an overall great experience. So I'm going to go ahead and play the game. So let's see, I'll roll it here, and hopefully I can accumulate enough points. I'm not winning. There we go. Okay. So I now have 250 points, and you'll see there's 3 prizes I could cash out. The Price is Right Live, Bette Midler, or Caesar's Palace Comedy. So I'm going to go ahead and cash out The Price is Right. Now, before I do this, what this does is, at this point, when I click cash out, it's going to go into Salesforce. It's going to pull up my record. It's going to make sure the prize is still available, and then it's going to add it to my reservation process and then alert the host. So I'm going to go ahead and click Buy. And we see that my prize has been redeemed. There's my confirmation number, the title, the points I redeemed, and then sort of some detailed information about the prize. So let's go back into Salesforce, and we should see a new alert or, that prize has been redeemed. Wait for this to load. Okay, so here we go. Here's my dashboard. And now that I see that James Gray, who I was logged in as, won a slot prize, Bette Midler, and I need to update his guest reservation. And so I'll go ahead and click in here and give you a little bit more detail about what that looks like. We can see that when this was entered in. I'm not sure what time zone this is. But I get details about the trip, and I'm able to kind of follow up and manage workflow from here. So this essentially is the process. And what I want to do now is go back to the presentation. If I can find it. Let's see. Here we go. Where is the presentation? I may have killed it, actually. Yeah, I'm in Firefox. Let's see. Can I pull it back up? Yep. Right there. Here we go. Sorry. Let me go ahead and jump to the slide that we were on. Yep, start presentation. Okay. Sorry, folks. Technical difficulties here. Okay. So let's talk about why we did it this way and what are some of the benefits. So we essentially built this slot machine game to show how Harris could really create an engaging experience and sort of leverage the strengths of App Engine, which would allow us to build multiple entertainment applications, take advantage of Java libraries, and really tie those. And App Engine is great for large-scale and viral distribution. And it also allowed Harris to target VIP gamers whenever they think about gaming in the different contexts they think about gaming. So it's important not that this stayed just on a host reservation web page, but that we actually allow this game to be played within other contexts. And so we also built a gadget, which I'll show you here in a second, which allows the game to be played within iGoogle or any other gadget container. So let me go ahead and actually do that, and let me try not to kill. Here we go. So I'm going to go and log into iGoogle, and I'll just show you what that same slot machine game looks like being run. I'm going to log out and log back in as myself. Here we go. And what we should see here, when I go to iGoogle, is we have our slot machine game. Right here. Now, it doesn't quite fit in this view, but I can go ahead and expand the gadget and get in canvas mode. And so here's the game again. And so the idea is that if I'm a VIP, I'm able to actually play this game not just on that host reservation page, but within iGoogle, where maybe I spend my time looking at email, planning my trips, and so forth. So I can, again, go ahead and play the game here, and maybe when, again, there we go, I can get the Bette Midler prize, cash it out, and if we go back to the host reservation page, you'll see that that it shows up and is recorded as another prize that I've won. So, that's essentially the demo that we wanted to show. I had two quick pictures I wanted to show you about the IDE environment, which is really talking about building Java applications and all within Eclipse. And so I'm going to open this up super quick. And I have two pictures here. So this is essentially a picture of the Eclipse IDE environment, which you're all familiar with, and or most may be familiar with. And we've installed the Java plugin for App Engine, so we're able to deploy apps. And so you'll see I've got my project here. Now, the thing I wanted to show you was that side by side, you're able to essentially. Here's my force.com work environment. So I'm essentially able to build my App Engine apps and also work in force.com all within Eclipse. And so it makes for a really productive experience to be able to switch back and forth and not have to change context. So I just wanted to highlight that it makes it an easy-to-use experience. So I'm going to go back to our presentation, and I have one other slide to sum up here. So coming back to this question of connecting the clouds, we thought there were very many advantages to using App Engine. Essentially, we're able to take advantage of the Java developer community and the libraries out there when building these slot machine type applications, and we're able to embed it in multiple contexts like iGoogle. So App Engine made it very easy to do that for us. And it was also a pay-as-you-go model for auto-scaling because we didn't know what the user utilization of our games would be. Now, obviously, there are a ton of advantages to using Force.com, especially since Harris uses Force for host management, and there were some things we couldn't do in App Engine that we wanted to do in Force. So we wanted to be able to track these prizes, make sure that the host was aware of them so that the VIP felt like he had an excellent experience. We're able to trigger workflow and manage the guest experience, and also track engagement from guests, even for those that didn't actually book a trip or actually lost the game so that there was some follow-up. So that was essentially what I wanted to talk about. We're very excited about the web service client, and back to Ron.
All right. Sure, I've got this on. All right, thank you very much, Iein. That was an exciting demo, and thank you, Ryan, for building that Java catalog experience. You can get the source code for the catalog demo out on it's out on code.google.com. It's located in this project repository, which is called sfdc-wsc. You can link to that from developer.force.com, where we have an App Engine landing page. We do have support for Python App Engine and Java App Engine. And the really exciting thing about the WSC client for App Engine is it really means that you can bring any web service to App Engine, not just ours, although we did test ours on App Engine. So I've got time for questions, so I want to see if you guys have any questions about the what we've talked about today, or the toolkit, or any of these technologies. I see one question. Go ahead and... Yeah, go ahead and approach the microphone, and I'll repeat your question as well.
Biggest concern and a question we have, as we were at the Force event down at Plug and Play, is we need the microsecond DB behind that from Force to Oracle. You know, the 11G stuff is nice and it's commoditized, but if I'm going to pay, and I don't mind paying, I need the microsecond I/O that Times Pen and open source Sleepycat stuff gives us. And is there going to be a premium tier for Force apps for people who need real-time CRM, like not Memcache? Because if I do that, I can do it on like App Engine or any other LAMP stack system. I need like 10, 15, 30-second real mobile-ready networks for CRM.
Okay, so let me make sure I understand the question. You want to combine the clouds, or you?
Yeah, we're combining both clouds, but we want the premium hardware and microsecond databases that Oracle can give you on Force. We don't want just the 11G stuff. We can get that anywhere. If we can get that for Force, we'll pay more, because we have mobile customers who bring us $10 to $30 to $50 a month each, all over the world. So,
I don't know the answer to that question. So let's check with me afterwards, and I'd like to understand more using an Oracle on-premise feature.
No, you've got Oracle behind Force. That's what you're on.
Yeah, but we expose our platform through our feature set.
Right, but in order to get the time performance, like not an hour, we need like 10 minutes for doing real CRM. Trending specifically on mobile users go much faster than that. So we need to be able to get ahead of it using CRM like yours, see what trending's coming, how many. Then we can deploy on like App Engine more instances and turn up more of the actual use to stay ahead of that. Because App Engine kind of does a pre-caching thing. It tells by traffic, pre-caching like little instances ready when we're going to get more traffic. But Salesforce with the microsecond Oracle, like times 10 type infrastructure versus like the 11G stuff, will let us be able to deploy faster and see it coming faster with CRM. So that's what we'd like, and we'll pay more if you can give us that.
Okay, I'll be happy to talk to you about the pricing and availability of that type of feature, but I want to make sure I understand it more. So I'd like to talk to you afterwards and really get to the bottom of the inquiry. Any other questions about the architecture, combining these clouds, or anything else? All right, fantastic. So if you have time, come and see us afterwards, ask some specific questions, And I do thank you for sticking around, staying to the last session of the last day and spending it with us. Thank you very much.